Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. I'm in the house today with my friend Kavita Channe.
Channe.
Channe,
You
I
got
said
it.
it. I said it right, man. So look, my last name's Ciorrocco, so people mess it up all the time. That's why they call me C-Roc. But anyway, listen, guys, I want to thank you for being here and watching or listening to the podcast. I appreciate your support. I always love to start the show with gratitude, and also if you want to be unstoppable like me and like Kavita, go get the book Rocket Fuel: Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable, with the foreword written by none other than Grant Cardone himself, and he tells about what the rocket fuel concept means to him and his business and his life. So go get that book. And now let me introduce my friend Kavita. She is a broadcaster, speaker, entrepreneur, and humanitarian. She's been on television before on a lot of different places, and we're going to get into that as we talk. But, Kavita, first of all, let me welcome you to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
And also, we always start the show with the question, what are you made of? And so I put it on the wall for people so they don't forget. And let's start by asking the question, Kavita, what are you made of?
Luckily, I can read sideways, and I feel like I'm made of steel. I feel like no matter what you throw at me, I always come out on top and I always learn something from whatever I go through. I feel like I'm confident, but I'm humble. And especially just as you get older, you just realize more and more every day what's important and what's not. And I just love just seeing like my soul evolve from my 20s to my 30s and beyond. And I'm sure you feel the same way because I feel like we're around the same age. But yeah, when you said that, what popped in my head was steel.
You're in your 30s? I thought you were
Well,
in your 20s.
I don't talk about my age because I feel like age is just a number. And
I
I feel
know. I know, but hold up. I thought you were in your 20s because I would the whole conversation about was going to be about how you achieve so much only in your 20s. But no, I
oh,
mean, I know you look wonderful, and we
it's
had a
all
little.
those facials, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get facials. By the way, so my wife just got me turned on to facials. Her friend does them, and she's like, "Hey, I signed you up for one," and I'm
Good.
like, "I don't want to." I mean, like, I thought it was just scrubbing your face. I didn't know what it was. I go in there, and she put some kind of Cabernet something on, and then the head massage and the face. I mean, it was just phenomenal. And now I get them regularly. So,
I'm
um,
so, you can tell. I was gonna say I was browsing through your Instagram profile and you just look youthful. You look like your skin is nice and flushed and you're always like, good energy,
thank you.
positivity. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, retinol, man. Gotta put the retinol on.
Actually,
So,
I haven't started retinol yet, but my facialist did tell me that she's like, I want to start you on retinol. So I mean, I'm just nervous about the whole sun thing because as you can see, I'm in Florida. We're always outside.
yep.
But yeah, I think the retinol is the way to go.
Love it. Love it. So listen, let's talk about steel. So take us back. I don't care how far back at diapers, crawling, whatever, till now. Tell us about how you grew up and what went into, making you who you are.
Right. So I am originally from London and my ancestry is Indian. 23andMe, I thought I had a little Greek in me, but no. 23andMe said you are 99% Indian. So both my parents from East Africa and my father got transferred to Florida from England when I was 5 years old. So, and it was hard because, my parents like were here in Florida by themselves, whereas like Indian families were kind of like Latin families in that were very like knit, like together, close in our communities. I had like all my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, like everybody's big family. So for my mom, it was very isolating. And in England, she was an accountant. And then here, she didn't get to go through all the testing. She was raising three daughters. So it was hard for her. It was also hard for us because I had a British accent and people just would make fun of me. They'd ask me to say curse words. I was entertaining because of my accent. And, at the time when you're a young child, you want to be like everyone else, right?
Hmm.
When you're an adult, you try so hard to be different. And when you're a child, you try so hard to be like everybody else. And had I known then what I know now, I would have kept my British accent, first of all, because I mean, let's be real, like that would have been a game changer. Everybody loves a British accent. But, and
I feel so intimidated. I have a friend named Matt Soltis, and we're in a coaching program together, this and that. And he's always talking, and I'm like, God, man, he sounds so. I'm so intimidated. I'm like, come on, Matt, stop it.
I know he sounds so smart. Everybody wants to hear a British person talk. So, in Clubhouse, it's like every time a British person comes in, we're all like, oh gosh,
I
say
know.
more.
Come on, man. Come
So,
on. I'm like, come on, just hit mute. Let me get in here. Come on.
I know, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
funny. But so anyway, I'd go home, I'd practice, I'd say instead of water, I'd say water, Florida. And I would just practice and I wanted to just be like everybody else. On top of that, I was a little Indian girl, as you can see, I'm brown. I was a little brown girl with a British accent. And at that time in my community, people really only knew black and white. They didn't really know Latin, brown, Indian, whatever. So, I'd get made fun of for my skin tone and they'd make Indian jokes or whatever. So I was friends with everybody. So I figured out a way early on to kind of like turn insults into just like let them roll off my shoulders, not care, move on to the next thing. And I was always that person that always like defended anyone being bullied. And, I got a lot of respect because I just did a lot of things and didn't care what people thought of me. You know what I mean? Like I was an A student, I was in a band, I was in the drill team, I was in honor society, whatever it was. I was running for president by the time I was in college, in high school. And so it was kind of like I just learned that over time that yes, I can have insecurities. People can make me feel like crap, but they're really not making me. I'm allowing them to make me feel like crap. So I can either allow that or I can just know that, whatever they're saying has to do with the way they were raised and just keep moving and not take it personal, which is what I did. And eventually went to the University of Florida for broadcasting. So I spent most of my 20s probably doing what you shouldn't do. Like I was just like having a good time, changing my career, doing all these silly things. I knew I wanted to be in front of the camera, but I felt like I didn't really have the confidence. Like why would I, this like Indian girl from London, why would I get chosen out of all these cute American girl next door with the blonde hair and the blue eyes? I just felt like those women were the ones that everybody wanted then. So in my 20s, I kind of, I started a business, a concierge company, in my early 20s, I worked for a company that managed Floyd Mayweather. I was a spokesmodel for Fanta Zippo, all these crazy things. Now listen, I had fun doing it, but I didn't really start my career until my late 20s. And had I started earlier, who knows where I would have gone. But, it's maybe who I am. I did start, I had a client in my luxury concierge that needed somebody to be a red carpet reporter. And he knew I was a broadcasting major from UF. So he said, you do it. We were going to hire somebody. He's like, you just do it. So there I was, like pushed into that whole scene, interviewing LeBron James, Paris Hilton, Nikki Hilton, Sylvia Vergara, like top stars at the time. That was 2008. And what I noticed with one of my interviews was when I did the LeBron James interview, it got like so many more views than the other celebrities that I interviewed. At that time, every entertainment reporter, journalist, whatever, they wanted to be on E. They wanted to be on Inside Edition. Those were the hot things, like Us Weekly, all that celebrity gossip was the in thing, as you know. Yep. I was like, listen, am I going to compete and do what everyone wants to do? Or should I just like do something a little different and see where that takes me? So I focused on sports, which I loved sports. And I thought there's not a lot of women besides at that time, there was only like Erin Andrews and maybe a few other people.
Yep.
So, but how was I going to do that? So I reached out to my sports contacts that I knew, just people in the business. And they said, we'd love to help you, but you don't have any sports on your reel. All you have is celebrity stuff. And then there's LeBron James. So I started a YouTube channel. And it was called First Down and Dirty. And I just got down and dirty and interviewed different sports stars. And, I'd interview one. And then after the interview, I'd say, like, do you have anyone you can recommend, connect me with, that I could interview in the future? And it got millions of views and it was a hit pretty early on, which a lot of people, took notice, including the people at Fox Sports. And what ended up happening was I created a reel, since I didn't have one before, of all of my sports interviews from my YouTube page. And that turned into a job at Fox Sports. That turned into a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars, sideline reporting. And then I did UFC, MMA, gridside, just all these different sports, MLB, soccer, whatever. And I loved that. Okay. I did it. I loved the travel. It was so much fun. And then one day, it was 2017 I didn't even have an agent. All my jobs I got on my own or through social media or whatever. I just thought to myself, what would be like the highest that I could get to? Like, okay. And then I thought, who's like at the top of sports broadcasting, right? Like, okay, you have Hannah Storm on ESPN, right? Or you have like, say, Erin Andrews or something.
Yep.
And I thought,
Susie Colbert. What about Susie Colbert? Don't forget about Susie.
Love her. Love all these ladies, right? So I thought, if I got that position, how would my life change? How would I feel? Like, what would I tried to like envision myself in that position. And I was like, I really probably wouldn't want to be in a studio every day because I'm so used to like traveling and doing my own thing. I did
Yeah.
sidelines. Like, I'm a person, I really don't like being in the same place every day doing the same thing. I need like variety. I need to be creative. And I thought, maybe this is not, I'm like focusing so much on this career. Maybe if the top is not really somewhere that I'd be like so excited to be, what am I doing?
Yep.
So I decided to continue doing my broadcasting, but like not focus only on that. And I launched a wine, Chenet Rosé.
There you
I
go.
love traveling. And I thought, well, how could I love France. I love the south of France. How could I get there more? Well, if I had a business that involved the south of France, I'd have to go there more often for business.
That's what I do for Miami, by the way. Like I love going to South Florida and I've like make excuses. So I'm gonna have to go to the south of France now and figure out how to do that now. So maybe I'll start a C-Roc wine.
You should. That would be amazing. I picture like a nice Cabernet.
Oh, they already took my name for
Vodka.
vodka. I mean, come on, it's like kind of messed up. He didn't even
I know
ask me.
they took my name for the Kavita prebiotic drink.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, son of a bitch.
I know, right?
So when you were doing the reporting, did you make a lot of friends with some of the celebrities when you were doing that, or like?
Oh
Did you
yeah. No,
often?
I like yeah, it was amazing. And I felt like it was just I felt so happy with what I was doing. I loved it. It didn't even feel like work. It was so awesome, but I felt like I did it for I'm just like that person that every 5, 6, 7 years I need to like reinvent myself. I just felt like I was like hitting like a ceiling where I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
don't know, which is good because when I launched the wine, I literally my boyfriend and I got pregnant a few months later. And actually, when the wine actually debuted, is when my daughter was born. So I couldn't imagine. I got to give it to the women that are out there on the sidelines pregnant. Like I couldn't imagine doing that. I just
Hmm.
traveling and while you're pregnant, and all that schedule and all that. You can do it, but it wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No.
everything happened the way it should, although it was hard for me to sell wine with a big old belly, and I was pregnant twice during the first few
So
years.
so not knowing much about like you might have drank wine like myself and maybe been a little
Yeah.
bit of a connoisseur maybe, but how did you know about the business of it and how did like for those out there listening right now that are saying, man, I'd like to do that. Like how did you start? Like what was step one? And by
So
the
I
way, I have a question. I mean, I have a reason for this questioning because I'm going to tell you about something I'm working on right now, and this would be the answer to this question for everybody. But go ahead.
Well, I didn't know anything. I really didn't know anything. And actually, I did a trip to Europe and I didn't even like rosé when I before that. And then when I went to Europe, I fell in love with it. And then I came back to America and I was ordering it. It was like 2016. Every time I'd order it at a restaurant, it would be garbage. And I'm like, this does not taste like the rosé I drink in France. Why is that? So, and at the time, there was only like one or two rosés on the menu. My last name's Channe, so my friends would joke around Channe Rosé. And then I actually did have a friend who was a distributor in the business, and he was like, "Listen, there's this. If you're serious, he's like, you're joking. He's like, but you could do this if you wanted to. And there's this business conference where all these rosé winemakers all over the world are going to be in February. Just check it out. Why don't you just come check it out, see what happens?" I went. I met with over 100 different winemakers, and I found my match. She ended up winning the gold medal actually at the conference. We created a blend together for me, and they're based right outside of Saint Tropez, and I've been working with them ever since. And it's been a very tough process because, like you said, how did I know how to do it? Well, I'm a person where I just jump in. I'm not like really. There's not like so much thought that goes into like because I feel like you have to start somewhere. When I did my first sideline, it's not like I had ever done that before. When I
Right.
interviewed my first celebrity, it's not like I had done that before. So it's kind of like, you set goals, you plan as much as you can, but oftentimes you don't even use what you planned to do. Like you just kind of like, it takes its own form, whatever business you have. And that's
Right.
kind of what's happened here.
And so when you got in it, were there setbacks that you had or like points where you weren't sure it was going to make it? And, like, just tell us
I feel that
like some
every
of the
day.
difficulties. You still feel like that. Yeah.
Oh, I feel that every day.
Yeah.
I'm always
Yeah.
like, for me, it's like the world, well, not for me, for everybody. The world is always changing. I mean, like,
Mm.
think about all of you guys, like you do a lot of inspirational stuff. You're helping people build their businesses, build their life. And remember, with COVID, all those events and all those places that you got to go out there and do your speaking engagements stopped, right?
Yeah.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Clubhouse came along, and now here you have this other platform. The world's constantly evolving. So for me, I always feel like I need to evolve as a business. You know, like right when COVID happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like all my restaurants aren't ordering for me. What do I do? So, you know, I started going on social media, and I just started posting all the time about, hey, like you're at home, do you want some wine? I can deliver to your house,
Of
whatever.
course they do. Of course they want wine.
Yeah, so I sold so much wine just like B2C, where I was mostly a B2B person.
Yeah.
And then now I was selling straight to consumers through a retailer. I paired up with a retailer. And then, you know, this past summer, I decided not to stay in Florida because, again, all the restaurants were closed. We were shut down still. And I went up north to Long Island. I went up to the Hamptons, and I just, what started off as just like a vacation to get away, I ended up selling all my wine there. Now I got to go back this summer. I'll be in the Hamptons and Long Island, you know, with all my new accounts. So, you know, it's hard, because I will say, if you want to have a wine or you want to have a liquor, there's so many regulations, so many laws you have to follow. It's the 3-tier system. It's not like if I want to sell you this bottle of water, Mike, you can go on my Instagram, click on a link and buy it. No,
Right.
you can't do it that easy. There's so many regulations. So, and even just giveaways and ways to promote on social media. You can't just give liquor away. You can't even ship liquor without a retailer.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff that you have to think about. And then also, if you don't have millions to pour into a brand, you know, in terms of marketing and social media and Facebook ads and all that stuff, it's really hard. I have to do a lot of grassroots stuff, you know, but I enjoy it still. I mean, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. And I love that this started from like a vacation and just like a joke. And then now it's an actual business that I love so much. And it's just grown, you know?
And what's your 2 to 3 year like vivid vision, like grand vision of this? Like where, like you're talking about when you were doing a sideline reporting and you're thinking like, what's the top? Like, what's the top of this for you?
Oh, you know what I've learned? I don't reveal that anymore. I'll tell you why. I think when I was younger, I used to always tell people where I want my 5, 10, 20. I feel like something that important, like you need to hold close to you. You really do. It's okay to like talk about like where you want to be in your life and whatnot, but really specifically, I try to hold that close to me. And of course, I'll tell the people around me.
Yeah.
You know, I think that for sure, like I told you, in 5, 7 years, I always like to reinvent myself. I love what I'm doing. We're creating more wines. I want to build this brand, and I want to, there's other things I'm doing too. I wrote a children's book. I'm also doing a book on solo pregnancy. There's many things that I want to do. And I think in 2021, people can do so many different things. It's very rare you meet one person that's doing one thing, right?
Yep.
So I think if we're all like reinventing ourselves all the time, I feel like that is the spice of life. Like, did you ever do Tony Horton's exercises? I forget, it was like P90X or something.
Yeah, I did those before.
You remember he'd be like doing the exercise, and then he'd be like variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do remember that. Yeah. Yeah. I
it
did a lot of
really
push-ups
is.
and pull-ups. A lot of push-ups and pull-ups, man. Jeez, six.
I loved plyometrics, but variety really is the spice of life. You know what I mean? I think that the way that you don't get bored with life is just by doing so many amazing things. Like have a huge list of you know, a huge list of things that you want to check off in your life and do them all.
Yeah.
Anyone thinks.
I get bored very easily with things, and I live in Maryland, Ocean City, Maryland. In the wintertime, it sucks here. Like the weather sucks. People, there's nobody here, and I like people. I like being around action and energy, and it's not. So that's why I take a lot of trips to Miami during the wintertime, because we got, you know, the kids have school and stuff, so it's kind of tough. But I'm like that, man. I'm not necessarily an action junkie. I just need people and energy. You know, and I love that. So, so give me something from your past that, whether it was somebody that pissed you off or let you down, or something that you still look back on and fuel off of. Like for me, just to give you a quick background, my dad, when I was 11, crumpled up $100 bill. This is a very short story of the long story, but crumpled up $100 bill and threw it at me and said I was going to need it when I was living on the street with my mother one day. And there's a lot more to the story, but there's a lot of broken people in my life. But I always look back to that story, and that's what sparked my rocket fuel. And but what's something like in the past that you look back on, if anything? I mean, and just, you know what? No way. I'm not gonna, like, when you don't feel like doing it, you don't feel like taking it to the next level or doing something. Is there anything that you fuel off of?
I think, and this is funny because it was a blessing that we moved to America and we were away from my extended family, because I do feel like my extended family, and it's not their fault. I love them so much, but I do feel like a lot of the times throughout my life, they kind of, would speak to my mom and kind of be judgmental about the choices I made and the things I was doing. But now they're so just like, they're so enamored that I just have the balls to just kind of go after whatever I want. So for me, it was always, there's like this meme or this like image that I remember I saw on Instagram a long time ago, and it's like a little note, and it's basically when someone tries to prove you wrong, like, I can't remember what the exact words are, but it's basically like just the gist of, if you try to count me out, I'm going to work even harder to get it done. And that's always propelled me. It's always when people don't believe in me, like, I show them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thank them for not believing in me, because if everyone believed in me, maybe I wouldn't like do the things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and that's like a driving force. And I think that's why you have to always, I love when people say that you have to learn from your trials, learn from, like, if something didn't work out for you, that's probably something that was on purpose, was intentional in the universe to help you better your life,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I love it. But, when people say things like C-Roc, you're killing it. I see whoever, like, I take it and I say thank you. But the thing is that kryptonite for me is complacency and comfortability. And if I hear that, I don't want my mind triggering and setting back. I always like to think that I'm not doing enough. Every morning I wake up, how can I get no more? What am I doing? What am I missing? Like, I need to find my blind spot. Like, there's something that I'm not, and I'm always looking for that. And I think that's what high performers do, though. But I have a saying, it's never as good as other people see it, but it's never as bad as you feel it is.
right. It's so
Because some days I'm like, I had a talk with my financial advisor the other day, and just leading into it, I was just like, I didn't have the clarity that I really wanted. And, I was just not feeling right. So every time I talk to him, it seems like we get clear on things, and then I'm like, oh shit, I got it pretty good. Like, so I think that we all go through those little ups and downs, and clarity is a big help with that. But so
you're so right though. You're so right though, because it's like, if everyone just complimented you every day and just said how great you're doing this and that, that's like, even with parenting with children, you want to be their biggest cheerleader, but you also don't want to give them like that complacency and that false sense of like, I'm great, and they don't have to try any harder. You know what I mean? So it's a fine line.
Yeah. Now, how old are your children now?
I have two toddlers. I have almost 1.5-year-old, and I'm sorry, an almost 2-year-old and an almost 3.5-year-old.
Oh yeah. So they're running around and all that. That's like mine's 14 and 8. And when we go to the store, the mall or something, they would just run off. And that was the worst, because you're constantly bending over to grab them. And I remember those days. Now I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm just like, get away from me. No. I'm just kidding. I love my kids to death.
It's like every parent's worst nightmare is to lose their child in a store. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't count how many times I like, where's Nick? Where's Nick? Where's Sophie?
I know.
So two more things here. So one, I have a new product coming out. We started a tech company, and it has a product called Blueprinted, BLOO printed. And the reason I asked the question of before about how to do something or how to accomplish something, what did you know how to do it? There is a lot of digital training courses, a lot of video courses out there, and only about under 20% of people actually finish them when they buy them. And so that means the effective rate of them is a lot lower than that. So I was thinking about this, like, what's the problem with this? I looked at the negatives, I looked at the positives, and then I figured it out. If somebody was able to tell you or me exactly how to achieve something like the wine, Kavita, this is what you do first. This is what you do second. After that, you do this. Now, at the third step, if you run into XYZ, do this. But if you run into TUV, do this. And step-by-step blueprinted, algorithmic step-by-step process. People, as long as they added the action to the steps, they know how to do it, and they'd have confidence. Most confidence is lacking because people don't know what to do next or what to do first.
Exactly.
So Blueprinted is going to be able to solve this problem by everybody that's successful in something that wants to get involved with this. If they develop their blueprint, which we help them with, they can sell it to the public and create a lot more success for people. And so I'm very
I love that. I love that. That's an amazing idea. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do have a story about that. Go on.
No. That's what we're getting ready to launch here soon. And I'm so excited about it. So I'm going on a kick right now that digital courses and videos suck. I'm not going to say that probably. I shouldn't say suck, but they're not effective. And we have the solution for that. And I'm going to really I'm going to call Brad Lee probably later this week and just talk trash to him because he's got Lightspeed VT and just say, hey man, I got something that's going to crush your system. And then we'll end up working together somehow. But anyway, what's your story on the blueprinted?
No, you know what, C-Roc, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like a lot of people go out there seeking help and advice and a blueprint. And people always start out with, I've got this, this plan for you, whatever. I can tell you exactly how to get to where I am, blah, blah, blah. And then you buy the course and you're like, at the end of it, like, I just wasted X amount of hours of my life. And you just told me the basic crap that I already know, but thanks. So I get that. And that turns people off of wanting to buy these courses and all that stuff. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You want a blueprint. You want step 1, step 2, step 3. Now listen, when you give people steps, it doesn't mean they're going to follow them exactly, but you've given them the blueprint the exact way in steps. It's organized of how you did it, and they could follow it, or they could pivot, or they could have a better idea, but at least they have that blueprint. I was just talking to a woman today consulting about my children's book. And I told her, listen, with my solo pregnancy book that I'm writing, I actually have a literary agent. We're going through the traditional publishing route. And I told her, with this book, I am not, because it is so slow to sell the traditional publishing route. I said, what I was going through in 2018, I was excited to talk about that in 2019. I don't want to wait till 2022 to talk about it because it's not fresh in my brain. And I said, this whole thing is just so slow. And I said, with self-publishing with my children's book, listen, a lot of times, even with traditional publishing, you have to do a lot of the work yourself. So with self-publishing, I just want to get right to it. I wrote this book, and it's going to come out this summer. It'll be in our hands in June. I'm going to pre-sell it, whatever. And I told her, if there was a person that could literally just say, like, hey, this is XYZ the way to do it. Like, here's the marketing way. Here's where you do. Here's what you do. Social media. Yes, no. Here's where you go to sell it to Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, blah, blah, blah. Or even if they were a person that could do it on their own, they'd be millionaires because people would just pay them for their expertise. And that we really just, at this point, we're all busy. We just want a blueprint. We just want steps. Like, quit all the other semantics and words and all the extra stuff around it. Like, cut to the chase. We don't have time for all that.
Yeah, I love it. And it's on my shoulders, my team's shoulders, to make sure that the blueprints work. And we're going to certify them. So when we bring people in, they're going to have to be blueprint certified. And it's going to be, I'm just so excited because I've been looking for this thing. Like, I'm in the mortgage business. I run a large division as well, I just wrote the book, all that, but I've been looking for this thing, and I finally found it with my partner, Jared, and my other partner. So I'm excited, and I wanted to share that with you because you mentioned about the wine. And so before I get to the final question about Rocket Fuel, what is the best way for the audience to engage with you or buy the wine? Or, oh, by the way, the title of your new book that's coming out, what's that called?
So the children's book is Frederick the Hamptons Frog. And it's about a real frog that was actually in my pool at the house I rented that wouldn't leave the pool. And he would swim next to us. I mean, I had friends visit, I had family visit, I had my kids in the pool. This frog just didn't care.
I love it.
He owned this property pretty much. I mean, he would just swim right by with his cute little frog legs. I could never eat frog legs after that. But he ended up being a friend of ours, and I kept dreaming about him. And now it's a book. And the illustrator I'm working with, found her in a Facebook group, she's amazing. So listen, when we get off this podcast, I'm going to send you a copy of the cover because it's so cute.
Awesome, man. I love it. I love that idea. And it's cool that it has a story behind it too, the real story. So
I have a picture of the real frog too.
Oh, sick, man. Tell us about the wine though, as far as where they can find it.
Okay. So if you guys want to connect with me, it's best on Instagram at Kavita Channe. Our wine is at the Channe Rosé. And, we have a link on there where you can buy the wine. We do ship almost every state from Florida. Shipping, you can get it straight to your house, and if not through retailer. But if you're in the Hamptons or Florida or Georgia, we have it in a lot of restaurants. Yeah, so Instagram's the best way to connect with me, guys. You can DM me, message me, comment, whatever.
Channe Rosé, let's go, guys. Support Kavita with this. Final question. The rocket fuel law or concept, I call it a law because if you follow my steps in the book, you become unstoppable. But anything that comes your way that would stop a normal human being or slow them down, you take all of that, you store it in your tank instead of your trunk where it weighs you down, and you convert it into rocket fuel for your future. You don't only just get back like resiliency, gets back to the original form, you blast off way through that and you become unstoppable because you've taken everything that can stop you out of your way. What does that mean to you?
I think that means to knowing that you are a superstar, that you're resilient, that you're strong, that you can have everything that all these people you look up to have, you can have it. Everybody is born a person, and we create our own story. So when it's like you write your rocket fuel book, you are the creator and the author of your own story. Is it going to be a snoozer or is it going to be a bestseller? So let's aim for the bestsellers, baby.
Let's go. Let's go. They say, you just said everybody's been born a human being, and they say, look, he puts his pants on the same one leg at a time. I'm like, nope, I don't. I put my pants on 2 legs at a time. So no, it's
That's
funny.
amazing. No, and then also people say like, oh, this person's born with money, this person's not, whatever. But we've seen people with money like Steve Jobs, that pass away young. We've seen people that have nothing that are on top of the world. You see someone that went through so many trials and tribulations like Oprah Winfrey, and look, she's Oprah Winfrey. So there's no excuse, like no excuses, guys. If you feel like you just want to just glide through life, then own it. That's fine. If you feel like you want to be a superstar, own that. If you feel like, whatever you want to do, you can do. You're the creator of your own story. That's what I want people to know.
Love
You're
it.
the creator of your own story.
Thank you, Kavita. I appreciate it. Enjoyed talking to you. Thank you for coming on the show. Guys, go support Kavita with the Channe Rosé. Until next time, guys, go subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Or if you'd like to watch these, go check out YouTube, Mike C-Roc, Ciorrocco. Until next time, be unstoppable.